Welcome to the Freedom Chronicles.
Definitely an antisocial type.
Only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger.
Hi, perhaps you recognize me. It's your favorite president.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
We got a loudspeaker here, and when we go into battle, we play music very loud.
With a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Freedom Chronicles. I'm your host, Mike Imbasciani. Thank you for joining us. We are, of course, broadcasting from the Brian Chapman State Farm bunker right here in Southwest Florida. And just like Arnold says,
like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Yes. And so Brian Chapman State Farm is there for all of the insurance needs that you have for your very own bunker. Give his office a call at 941-625-9998, or as Arnold would say, 9998, or visit the office at 2040 Tamiami Trail in Port Charlotte. With us, as always, Mr. Ken Lovejoy, and Ken has a guest with us today, an old friend, and I'll let you do the introductions.
All right, this guy was my second morning show host of my radio career at WRKU. Is that what it was? Dana Schroyer, ladies and gentlemen. Dana Schroyer. Or Dana Steele, as it was back then.
Thank you. Steele with an E on the end.
That's right.
You remember
right.
that?
I always forgot.
We had
to do it because Yes, I was Ken Stevens. Stevens and Steele, the Morning Crunch. That's what we...
Nice.
John Thomas,
so Dan,
our program director.
JK,
Good.
Well, I used John's voice. He voiced the intro to my show.
Oh, cool.
That I'm doing now. Yeah, so that's cool. But
going back to Stevens and Steele, JT pulled you and I in the office when they teamed us up together. And my first name being Dana and your last name being Lovejoy, it's like there's no way we could do this on a rock station. So he gave us the names Steele and Stevens and Steele.
Yes, but I had to because remember, I was at Wax FM. This is funny.
That's right.
I got recruited to Youngstown to work at Wax FM doing mornings and PD or mornings and music director. And Ed Hill, great guy. His son is one of the pitching coaches for the Dodgers now.
Oh, that's him, right? Okay,
yeah, he
right,
lives out in L.A. He was the PD, and he left me in charge. We're running the station. The owner winds up bouncing 2 payrolls on us.
That's okay.
So after he bounced the second payroll, the chief
the
engineer
Burger King bucks weren't enough.
No, that was my very first radio gig in Wyoming. Yeah,
right. Okay. Nice to see things don't change.
Yeah,
as
really.
you go to different
So
stations.
he bounced 2 payrolls on us, and so the chief engineer and I called the FCC and asked them, what can we do? We're not going to stay and work here. How do we take the station dark? So he told us what to do. So the next morning, Friday morning, we played. I take this job and shove it. And money, that's what I want, back to back for about 3.5 hours. And then I said, Wax FM now leaves the air until such time as its owner can pay its employees. And then the chief engineer pulled the plug. And then that next Monday, I started doing afternoons at K-Rock.
Right.
Dana and
Dave,
Super Dave were doing mornings. And Marino fell prey to another radio station who just wanted him to hire him away from us so that they could fire him. And so I went to start doing mornings with Dana. So they, since we were in litigation suing the old owner trying to get our pay,
you couldn't use
I
your
couldn't
real
use
name.
Lovejoy, so I had to go. I was Ken Stevens.
Nice. So Dana, what was it like? Was he always the cue ball at that time as well, or what was it like back then in radio in general too?
I've always described Ken as a perfect combination of Jonathan Winters and Fraser Crane.
Yes. Because I've got a picture on my phone. I'll show you sometime. When I got out of the Navy, I let my hair grow and I grew a full beard.
Right.
and I looked like Fraser Crane during the Cheers years.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, and wore a lot of sweaters. You wore a lot of Argyle.
Well, it was Youngstown.
The Argyle. Oh, okay. Fashion, high fashion.
High 80s in the 90s fashion
Yes,
in
of
Youngstown,
course.
Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
In the
What
70s,
else?
there were more leisure suits sold in the Youngstown, Ohio market than any other city in the United States. It's a little fun
Well, that's
fact.
when the steel mills were open.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and
So
you did
how's
your
it going
banking.
politically?
What do you want to know? I can talk a little bit about Amish buggies and poop catchers being required in a lot of our local communities.
What's the general consensus up there?
So the wild thing is nationally that has happened here over the last, really since the Tea Party movement, is that Mahoning County in Ohio, a little bit of Trumbull County, Columbiana kind of the same way, has grown more and more red. And you've actually seen a lot of red voting, especially in Mahoning County, which has had the Democratic Party in Youngstown. Well, that didn't help.
These Palestinians going red, I would imagine.
Yeah. This area, our area, really gets pretty isolated from a lot of state politics just because of its redness. I mean, you got to remember that the number one band that ever came out of Western Pennsylvania was Leonard Skinner.
Yeah, so okay.
The biggest Leonard Skinner audience you're ever going to find is right here in Western Pennsylvania.
Nice.
Well, who did we have come out of there? It was Joe Grishecki.
Mm-hmm.
And who's the guy
Joe
that
Grishecki
did
and the House Rockers.
Aaliyah?
Donnie Iris.
Donnie Iris, that's right.
Donnie Iris just last week he had his 81st birthday concert.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, he's still playing?
My lovely lady Beth Ann and I went last year. We went to his 80th birthday party, and full arena down at the UPMC Arena in Pittsburgh.
Cool. Wow, that's cool.
And mutual, I don't know if you remember John Driscoll from back in the day. He was the sound guy that was usually at most major shows out of Satin Sound out of Hermitage. He's gotten huge. And he's doing most of the shows and stuff. So, and then we have another band that's come out of Youngstown called the Vindies that are outstanding. Check them out sometime, like the Vindicator, Youngstown Vindicator, the Vindies. Jackie Papa. They're going to be on my podcast here, coming up here sometime here in the not too distant future. But they were one of the opening acts.
Oh, Mr. Dana Presents.
Mr. Dana Presents. Okay. Where can people find that?
Mr. Dana MrDanaStuff.com. That's Mr. Dana Stuff, STUFF.com.
Nice. You like some cool music, man? That's a place to go.
Very cool.
Thank you.
So
I
what
appreciate that.
Over the years then, how did you see radio change and throughout the music radio or news radio and just
radio is different up there?
Yeah.
Radio is still, when I came down here, it had already gone digital.
Here.
Yes. Yeah. But up there, you were still, I mean, it was still everything. You're playing.
I was just telling Beth Ann and I were just talking about, Beth Ann and I were just talking about this the other day. I was still splicing tape and using a white wax pen up until about 2001.
Wow.
And then I went to a station in Erie, Pennsylvania. That was the first time I dove into digital. So it was, I literally locked myself in a production studio for a weekend with a pillow and a blanket and sat with Cool Edit and taught myself kind of how to,
for radio, Cool Edit is about the easiest because most of those programs, they're all made for musicians. So there's just tons of effects and stuff that we don't even need.
Right. But, I don't even use
Cool
that.
Edit, but I agree. Cool Edit is or Adobe Audition, what it is now.
But to answer your question, Mike, so I was literally one of those geeks, and my story's not uncommon, but I literally started working for a little country radio station. I live in a very rural part of Pennsylvania. I consider myself a bit of a farm kid, and we had a radio station just down the road from my uncle Phipps, and it was a little country station, WWIZ Stereo 104, and I started calling that radio station when I was a little kid. I was one of those geeks that just went down and would hang out, and once in a while there'd be a remote. They would invite me to go along as a kid and tote some, lug some things and set up chairs. And my senior year of high school, they gave me a job doing news and weather. And the first thing I had to do was I had to learn how to say W, because in Western PA we say W. And that was a challenge. But no, I started off doing that. I worked for that radio station for a couple of years. Ended up married shortly out of high school. Living in Florida. I ended up in Orlando working for Disney, and I worked part-time for a gas station.
Okay.
And then, so by that time, CDs were starting to come into play. But the cool thing was, I was even in the station I worked for, starting off when I was in high school, the jocks that worked there, they were still pulling their own music. I mean, that was you still had A&R guys that came in and were pitching music and wanting to get to the PD. And so I got to see that whole area. And even up until, well, Ken, when you and I were at K-Rock, which was back in the early 90s, and then when I went on to CD 106, A&R people were still around, and local PDs and music directors still had a lot of control over what the radio station sounded like. So radio stations really took on a regional flavor.
And it was cool because they used to purchase.
Yeah.
We used to, all the promotional merchandise and stuff that they'd have. That was fun to get.
Well, and you could get record companies to help underwrite concerts. Yeah. That was the big thing, is you got a record company to underwrite a particular show, and then you turn around and put a beer company on top of it, and it was just golden. I mean, you underwrote it.
People were making money.
Yes, back then.
Yeah.
Now you got to have Brian for the he's got all his sponsors pay for it, but he's got like 30 sponsors.
Right. It takes that much just to, to cover and actually pretend to make some money.
Yeah. You know that. Yes, I do. Don't you now? Don't you?
I knew. Yeah.
I tried to warn you. You wouldn't listen, and look at you now.
The gentleman that I worked for after Ken and I left K-Rock, I had a blast. Listen, I mean, it's really easy now at 61 years old to get retrospective on your life. And Ken, I had an absolute ball working with you. And then our friendship continuing the years after, just always just so joyful. When I worked for CD 106, The Wolf in Youngstown, it had its challenges, and I had my own. But that was still kind of the way radio was that you would imagine. WKRP in Cincinnati, it was still very much that. And it was very, very, and we were,
Gary J.
Gary J, I wouldn't work for them. I wouldn't go work over there until that particular individual. Gary and I just never saw eye to eye, and he left. He got demoted upward. And
this guy. Stories about this guy. Remember our spoof on him? Mary Kay. That's Kay.
Mary Kay. My favorite Gary J story, he's still out there. I don't know if he's still with Cumulus or not.
He was in upper management, and last I heard, he got let go in that last big one that they had 10 years ago. So I don't know where he went after that.
I met the Dickey brothers.
Really?
With Cumulus back in the day when they were building their empire. Man, that was like staring into the cold eyes of Satan. Just soulless human beings. And that's, so you want to start, that's when radio, I mean, now you're talking late 90s, early 2000, and it really started to change. So I was kind of in a bit of a 90s golden era. in Youngstown radio with CD 106. I mean, it was a lot of fun, but then it got sold to J-Core, and J-Core immediately put in Bob and Tom as the morning show, and our morning show survived, but we got moved back. We got moved to the afternoon drive. And because the show had kind of been set up and established, my old partner and I, Super Dave, we had established a kind of a morning show in the afternoon, a comedy drive home show. So, I mean, it was just a ton of fun. But then J-Core came in, and shortly thereafter, Clear Channel bought up and, well, became J-Core.
Same thing that happened to us.
And then music immediately, music started being decided by major markets and other bean counters. And then you look at what Clear Channel became, because, I mean, they just, not only did they own the music, they owned the stations, they started buying up music venues. Heck, they even bought the National Hot Rod Association. I mean, they owned everything. And so I got independently. When I first got into podcasting, I have a brother-in-law who was worked for Intel, and I was able to start doing some private few little jobs here and there for Intel. And lo and behold, they struck a deal with Clear Channel to do all of their promotional and everything, and all of us little guys immediately got. So I got canned twice by Clear Channel.
Well, so pause there for a second. Talk about podcasts, just to segue into politics a little bit. And you're obviously, you do your podcast, a music podcast. We have this podcast, which is the political one, and entertainment as well. I have a separate entertainment podcast. Just interviewed comedian Greg Hahn, which was a lot of fun. People can watch that on my regular
surprisingly
Mike Imbasciani.
Good drummer,
right? Surprisingly good drummer. We'll get to that. That's called a teaser. People can find that podcast on my regular Mike Imbasciani YouTube channel, and you're seeing more and more people have access to podcasts that everybody and their brother is doing. And I think that is helping get people away from legacy media, outside of the corporate entity that is, the big hand. Yeah, the big hand that is just telling everybody what to play, what to think, what to listen to, whether it's talk, music, radio, or conventional news TV. And I think the podcasts are helping with that. Are you seeing that?
Murder is the most popular podcast.
Yes, that
yeah, without a doubt.
Are you seeing that podcasts?
Murder and ghosts.
Yeah.
Ghosts.
I love that.
So I've been on the ground floor of podcasting since iPods. I mean, really, first generation iPods, and iTunes had this little category over there called podcasts. It was actually a cousin of mine at a family Christmas party that came up to me and mentioned the term podcast to me for the very first time. And this was back about 2003. Wow. And so when I first started looking at it, I knew that I like music, and that's probably the most complicated, pain in the butt avenue to go down in the world of podcasting. Even back then, it was a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, because you got licensing,
right.
All that shit.
Yeah, and I'm licensed. Like, licensing without my podcast being interfered with is really only good in the continental United States, which is fine. And what I've found, we can talk about that later. But anyway,
Chi-Com's listening anyway.
Yeah. From the very beginning, iTunes was the source, was pretty much it. And I was actually using some small little independent, like two guys in a garage, literally, called Cyber Ears, somewhere in Texas, to provide the proper addresses and the links and all that kind of a thing. In fact, I was their very first iTunes. They were strictly like a housing place that you would go to, mostly for church and those kind of things, a lot of church services and things like that back in those days. And then here was this rock and roll podcast in the middle of it. We had this pinup girl sitting on a guitar with a tool belt. It really stuck out. It was awesome. But anyway, my first podcast was a music podcast, and it was all just searching and looking at independent music. And we did it from my brother's shop. My brother's a woodworker and a craftsman, and he had a showroom. So we spent a year talking about it, and we decided what we're going to do is we're just going to put up a 1-hour music show listening to the music we were listening to in the shop. So in the meantime, I started listening to other podcasts. And back in those days, most podcasts sound like a couple of kids in a basement and the technology wasn't really good. We had I knew the bare basics of what you needed to do, but most people, it was pretty amateurish. But every once in a while, you'd start to catch something. What's his face? The first time I ran across one that was interesting that I really liked was, I can't think of his name now, the guy that used to be the VJ on MTV.
Which one?
He's kind of considered to be the goat.
The little short one with the curly hair. I forget.
No, it was the blonde, the good-looking blonde dude.
Yes, I forget his name, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
Him and he was kind of like one of the grandfathers of setting up kind of his own network. And the other one was Tom Green, the comedian Tom Green. He set up. I mean, it was basically like big time. So and it was fun because I've kind of taken my podcast. I got into radio because I wanted to just be a voice, and I kind of shy away from the other ends of
you don't do the video end of it.
Not yet. I'm probably going to be. I'll tell you about the room I'm sitting in here in a minute. But anyway, I really wanted to make a career out of producing podcasts for other people. And so, long story short, I ended up in Huntsville, Alabama, and that's primarily what I was doing. And I was working with a comedian, Tim Knox, and Christy Jordan, who was she was actually kind of one of the new up and coming and was friends with Paula Dean. And they were great. But my podcast that I had originally started ended up on being in the top like 50, 60 podcast on iTunes early back in the day. When I started producing their podcast, it immediately went into the top 100 and just had a huge, it was really going to take off. But it was funny because nobody knew how to market them. Nobody knew what to do with them. You couldn't get advertisers, and people got discouraged really, really quick.
Yeah.
The funny thing,
you're not going to make anything.
We're on episode 121. We're all
we know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So folks, if you're watching and would like to sponsor this train wreck, please drop us an email.
Let's be real about this, because number one, I could very easily get up and do like a motivational seminar on how to be a failed radio host.
Oh yeah. I want to start teaching broadcasting school here pretty soon.
Yeah.
That would be just awesome. And then the other thing is, the only reason I'm doing the podcast that I'm doing today, I mean, there is a motivation behind it and there's a reason that I'm doing it. I'm literally doing it because my son asked me here a little over a year ago, and he wants me to write down all of my radio stories, which I sort of work on. But in the meantime, he says, with my grandkids, I'd love to be able to show them what to do. And in radio, we never kept tapes. I kept nothing. I don't have a wall of fame or anything like that. And so
the one I wanted, remember the poodle pelts?
My God. You're Grimley. First of all, that was the voice that you used. What was his first name? Doggone it.
Elmo.
No, but I mean the voice that you used. It was actually the actor. Gang. I thought you did the actor. You remember
Bilford Grumley.
That was
Grumley.
it. Yeah. Grumley. Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember that was the first time that we got we kind of got led to the manager's office, if you want to call him that.
Well,
we had a lot of complaints.
Beasley owned the station. George Beasley, going through a divorce, he had to get rid of a couple of stations to pay off the ex. Ours was one of them. In comes the broker, an individual who will not be named, and he's LMAing the station to where he's running the station as he's trying to sell it. He has his girlfriend who used to be a fledgling sales rep at a bunch of different stations in town, be the general manager of the station. Okay. General manager's sister, who was always coming in, and they were trading out everything. free limo rides, all this stuff,
Right.
In trade for advertising.
Yeah.
So they're living large,
Right.
Jewelry, furniture, all this stuff. I did get a set of tires, full disclosure. But
you got more than I did.
The truck, yeah. But she had these dogs, and her sister had these dogs and would bring them in to the station all the time. And they're just little rat dogs.
Yeah.
And so we had this deal one morning where there was a Glock. There's a Glock sound effect on this CD that we had. So we just started shooting dogs. Poodles.
And it was
and see, that's what people get upset about.
Invaded by poodles.
Yes.
He was here they come again.
And the poodle
like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do with all these dead poodles?
Poodle pelts.
So we call Pete's
Elmo.
Pelts.
Pete's Pelts. And he came out and he sat up by the dumpster. And since he was already there and he was picking up all of our poodle pelts, we opened it up to the public that they could bring their poodles and we would extinguish the poodle and then Pete would take the pelt. And he was paying by the pound, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So the more poodle,
listeners loved it, but management not so much.
Yeah.
Oh, that was funny. Speaking of owners and everything, I'll back up again. That little country radio station, Mike may remember this. He's not remember. He may have run across this somewhere, maybe. But Ken, you should remember. The owner of the little radio station I worked for out in the middle of the country was Jimmy Paul, who was best known in the 70s. He was a polka star, and he had the Pittsburgh Steelers fight song, the polka song.
Nice.
Pittsburgh. You never look that up. Jimmy Paul and the Pittsburgh. That was the biggest thing in the world. That was on national television. That was everywhere. And that was part of my job. Was the UPS truck would come every once a week, and I'd have to load the cases of his Pittsburgh Steeler album. And he had a little dog called Polka Pete.
God,
them's the radio days.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
There's no personality like that left.
Beats the hell out of my Burger King certificates.
No. Yeah, there is. But now radio's changed quite a bit. Now it's McDonald's. I mean, I can go from city to city. I can go everywhere.
Right. It's the same. But like you're saying, you're doing your podcast now to remember those stories, to talk about that. I interviewed my cousin who lives out in Arizona when he was here back in 2016. And he has friends that still listen to it now that had no idea, because we go into his whole history of his life. And people take 1 million pictures a day, but don't actually have any substance of their life. And I think it's important to have podcasts, to have radio, to have those conversations and to document it, save them so family members, friends can have that sort of thing.
We will all live forever until the EMP.
Yes.
Well, you and I always said that one day that we were just going to vapor lock on the air, and I'm working ever so hard.
That's the idea. 86 on mic.
86 on mic.
Usually,
And with that, I think it's time for our music segment. Folks, if you're enjoying the show, a little more lighthearted show. We'll get into some news in a little bit. And
we'll
definitely
start bitching
join us
here real soon.
Yes,
hang on.
And join us on our locals community. We'll have a bottom of the stack with some of the stories that we didn't get to in this episode. You can join the locals community, just $5 a month. See, we're talking about, you got to support the local people here. You got to get loud locally. You got to support. And you can help support by joining our locals community, just $5 a month. And get 1 month free with promo code FreedomCow. You can also help support the show by checking out the Freedom Chronicles shop by getting a wonderful t-shirt just like this one that says "War" with Trump's mugshot on it.
Favorite.
Because why would you not want one of those? Because it's a great conversation starter. Wear it to all the church barbecues and just have a great time. Check out that QR code or use the link down in the description. Check out the Freedom Chronicles shop. Get loud locally with a Freedom Cow shirt and other great shirts that we have available. So we have the music segment here, and we had a lot of fun. It's Leroy's.
Oh, cool.
We were at Leroy's this past weekend. Comedian Greg Hahn was in town over at Vasani, and we had a sold-out show.
Yeah, it was a great show.
Yeah, at Vasani last night doing the Simply Clapton, Eric Clapton tribute show. Another one of those coming up in April. But this was this past Friday, my band, Mike Imbasciani and Blues Rockers, with comedian Greg Hahn sitting in on drums. Check it out.
It's funny.
Shaky ground. Fun stuff. he played my kit here in the studio, and I don't have a double kick. He was saying, man, you don't have a double kick. You got to have a double kick. You got to get a double kick, man. And my drummer does have a double kick. That's why he was going nuts there at the end. So fun stuff.
I didn't think, a couple of years ago, we all went out after he headlined at Vasani, and we all went downtown Punta Gorda, and we wound up at CJ's, this bar, late, and the little 3-piece had taken a break, and he just climbed behind the kit and started playing a little jazz stuff. I'm like, well, it's not bad, you can do something. But that was pretty respectable. That was respectable.
Good. Yeah,
fun
stuff.
That's fun for everybody, though.
Dana,
That's fun. I was going to say things like that are fun, not only for the musicians and everything, but so much fun for the audience. You could hear them really eating it up.
Oh yeah, exactly. And it's because it's spontaneous. It's something different.
Yeah,
exactly.
So Dana, we do a little thing called Trader and Patriot.
Patriot and Trader of the week. There we go. Thank you. You gotta have.
I forgot we had the intro to it. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So Dana, we'll give you a moment to pick your Patriot. Ken, you may pick your Patriot first.
I'm gonna have to go with Peter Navarro.
Oh yes.
I think, from what I've read, it was kind of a kamikaze mission. He was right to do what he did, but at the same time, he could have asked for Trump for a little help on the old executive privilege, because there was a lot of technicalities that I think Navarro could have avoided.
Yes,
and maybe got through this, and maybe there wouldn't be the question of executive privilege like we're having today. But nonetheless, he's going to be doing 4 months for doing absolutely nothing other than what Hunter did, what Eric the Coward Holder has done, what several other people on the left have done: shun subpoenas. That's it.
But
for the J6 committee.
But what is it? It's once again the Republicans continue to lose because the Democrats just don't give up,
and because the Republicans are a bunch of fucking pussies.
That's
why.
Tell me how you really think.
So has he changed in any way, Dana?
Oh God, no. It's just so freeing. It's just so freeing, though, to just say fuck on the radio now.
I know. Trust me. I can't say it on the air, so I usually will at least drop it a couple of times. Just for fun, outlet. Just because I can.
Yes, this is his outlet. So Dana, with that understanding, who is your Patriot of the week?
Holy cow. Of the week.
Yes.
Just this
anything in news that is good news.
Actually, no, and it's so funny because it has to do also with the F-bomb. Is I've actually been watching a lot the last 2 weeks of, and I can't remember her name. What's her face? It used to be on Fox News. That's now all over YouTube. The beautiful blonde, Megyn Kelly.
Megyn Kelly, yeah.
I've just been digging on her because she's another truth teller. I like. I've enjoyed watching her over the whole Georgia debacle.
Yes. You loved her magazine spread.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell me you didn't love her magazine spread.
Well, let's just be truthful about it. She's my favorite. She's blonde, and I really don't listen to anything that she says. In fact, most of the time, I just have her on.
Sounds down.
Why do you think they gave her a glass desk at Fox?
Well, that's one of the best Joe Rogan routines ever. I mean, and that's another one that tells it like it is. I've become a big Joe Rogan fan. I've always been a fan, but I'm digging on him more and more and more because he's pissing the left
off. I love watching him wake up as he's doing his show.
Yeah, he's getting red pilled as he goes. Same with Russell Brand. And Russell Brand just posted today that he's looking, where should I get baptized? What church should I join? So he's getting super duper red pilled. So good for him. And it's nice to see people like that because they have those audiences that are either fence riders or on the left, and they have the power to bring them with them as they get red pilled.
Mm-hmm.
I've also become a real Jordan Peterson fan because while we're watching what's going on our southern border, one of our biggest threats right now is very much to the north of us because that's what's coming, folks. They're about 5 years ahead of LA and the rest of this country.
Yep.
It's disgusting.
And speaking of Georgia, we have picture number 12, please, Ben. The slight slap on the fanny that
Nice.
McAfee gave Fat Fanny on her Fat Fanny. And, of course, happy St. Patrick's Day. Picture number 11 from Google Gemini here wishes everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day. So my my Patriot of the Week goes out to a young 11-year-old hero who shot a man attacking his pregnant mother in North Carolina. So an 11-year-old boy shot a man who was attacking his mother during what police are calling a domestic violence situation. Shocker. The incident occurred at the In-Town Suites in West Charlotte late Wednesday last week. According to the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police, the man, who has not yet been publicly identified, the daddy, had broken into their hotel room and attacked the 27-year-old mother. And the police said, quote, the woman knew her attacker and it was a domestic violence situation. Detectives said that the woman's 11-year-old son saw his mom getting attacked and the young boy rushed in and shot the intruder. There you go. So both the mother and attacker were taken to the hospital to be treated for injuries. And the police department has issued warrants for the man for assault by strangulation, assault on an unborn child, and false imprisonment. So little young man doing the good thing and taking care of business.
Point and click.
Yes. Chitty chitty.
I wonder.
Bang bang.
I wonder what the room rates are right now at that hotel.
Well, if you want that room, it's on a heavy discount. They haven't come in to clean the carpet yet.
There's still, you're gonna have to duck under that yellow tape.
I'm looking up Travelocity right now.
Yeah, slightly better ventilation now with the bullet holes in the walls. And that brings us to our trader of the week. Ken, who is your trader of the week?
Letitia, the power hungry hippo.
Oh yeah,
Letitia James.
Yes,
single-handedly doing her best to destroy America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. Dana, do you have a trader?
I've been watching that psychotic mayor up in Michigan. Have you seen that one?
No, mayor?
Oh my
gosh. I know we have a psychotic governor in Michigan.
Whitmer.
I know we have a psychotic attorney general in Michigan.
Yeah, there's a little town up in Michigan.
Yeah, Nessa something or Nels.
Where's it? Where's the town?
It's a little town where this mayor has just gone power completely crazy, hungry.
Oh yes. I talked
hired
about that a while ago.
Yes,
she had her own private security. She's shaken down the business owners for donations.
That's right.
She's
running,
shut down. Well, now she just voted. The city council wanted to have a investigation, and she vetoed it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Dana.
and the city council split. Half of it is like corrupt. Half of it's trying to get to the bottom of things. Anytime you get on anything on YouTube and just watch what their city council meetings look like, I hope this goes on for a very long time. It is a beautiful train wreck, and she is absolutely running this town. I mean, I feel bad for the town, but
she's
a total
thug.
Yeah, they were talking about it's like total
thug.
mafia.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's what we all aspire for.
It's going to be fun to watch her fall, but at the same time, who's going to prosecute her? She's a Democrat.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a blue
if you want to
city
see professionals, you gotta come to Youngstown and watch. That's how it's done. You know, these are just amateurs.
How is Youngstown? How's it going up there?
I'm going to tell you the God's honest truth. I've been back here 12, almost 13 years now, and I have not driven through Youngstown yet. I've not done it.
Well, when I was up, I didn't drive through there very much when I was there up in October when you ignored me. But the last couple of years ago, when I was up there, and remember I saw you just driving through that area. It's depressing. It was depressing back in the 90s when I lived there, but now it's like, hey, that same pothole's still here, and it's deeper,
and it's bigger. Yeah.
They tore a lot of the city. Everything that needed to be taken down has been taken down. There's a lot more green. The Cavelli Center downtown for entertainment is actually doing really, really well. And the amphitheater that they've now added to downtown, they're bringing in great venues or great acts for the venue. They do a couple of events, or at least one major autumn event every year up at the Ice Palace, up at the stadium with YSU. But YSU's football program is nothing like it used to be, so there's that. The school's expanding. Of course, they're buying a property, a dime on the dollar, which is probably really, really good. But I really don't pay attention. And now the head of the Democratic Party is Dave Beatrice. So... And I get remember Beatrice and Dan, and then his partner Dan went on to become like the Attorney General of Ohio and ended up going to federal prison.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. There's always all of that. Yeah. The biggest thing in the two biggest things right now over the last decade to come out of Youngstown that I'm proud to say is this new band, the Vindies, that I talked about. I'm really happy to see what they're doing. And they're terrific. And the other one is Tony Hinchcliffe. Do you know the comedian Tony Hinchcliffe?
No,
I don't.
You need to look him up in a great YouTube program called Kill Tony. He's one of the Joe Rogan comedians.
Okay. Yeah. I know what you're talking about now.
He's from Youngstown.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I'm trying to do. I'm running down because his parents are still in Youngstown. His father was a restaurant owner. They were all, his mom and dad both were all hooked up in the mob. And we have there. I know enough people, and there's enough. We're talking about it, and we've kind of started to narrow it down as to we have an idea who Tony Hinchcliffe's dad is. And his mom used to run numbers, and yeah. It's pretty. It's good stuff. I'm digging on him because it's fun Youngstown stories.
That's cool.
Yeah, no doubt. Youngstown mob stories.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of them
still going on. Little Chicago.
Nice. Oh yeah, of course.
Cool.
So my trader of the week. I have a couple clips. I have a video clip I'm gonna play, but first, the bloodbath thing. It goes. My trader of the week's the media. Because they're
it's but Joe Scarborough.
With Joe Scarborough too. But you just have to say the media because they're lying sacks of shit because they are doing nothing but emboldening people to just lie more. Because if you take the bloodbath clip and out of context, which again, unless you're really paying attention, which of course they took it out of context, but unless you're people like us that are truly paying attention, you don't watch the clip, and people who don't even watch the news anymore. They hear it 3 telephone game people later of, Trump said the bloodbath is going to be a bloodbath if he loses. Well, that's like picture number 2 here, please. Babylon Bee media reports Trump threatened nuclear war after he says this guacamole is the bomb. You have that. And then, of course, you have on the other side of the media, the threat against free speech, which you had Ketanji Brown Jackson come out and say, the First Amendment really hamstrings the government.
Yeah,
and
it's the fucking point.
Yeah. So picture number 4, Ketanji Brown Jackson warns right to free speech could lead to people speaking freely. God forbid. And of course,
they're coming out with that ruling in June, and it kind of looks like they're leaning towards government.
Yeah, I know. And picture number 10, Babylon Bee, Democrats clarified they're okay with a bloodbath if it's just from killing the unborn. Really. And picture number 13, Babylon Bee, unhinged Trump threatens more violence by promise to trigger a landslide on election day. And just getting back to the media, Glenn Beck had a great tweet. He shared what the New York Times posted out. It turns out the deep state is actually kind of awesome. And Glenn Beck said, old and busted, the deep state's just a conspiracy theory. The new hotness is, the deep state is dope, yo. And don't forget, just again, what lying sacks of NPC shit that the media is. Play this clip that everybody needs to be reminded of time and time again.
NPC?
And non-playable character, drones, mindless drones. Okay. Ben, you have the video. Let's play the video.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities, the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about troubling trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false news
has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
We're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic.
Not a democracy.
And it just infuriates me because these are the people, oh, you can trust us, what we're saying.
Yes, trust me in my cheap suit and comb over.
And you talk about a bloodbath. Every single article had the link to the video. Not one person ever actually looked to see what Trump actually said.
No.
And that is what's dangerous to the country.
But again, to me, Joe Scarborough.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Have you been watching the over the top? Joe Scarborough has decided that he wants everyone in the world to hate him, and he just is going so over the freaking top. It's like, what do they got? How are they bribing you? What do they have on you, Joe, to make you just? I mean, look like a freaking idiot. Before the State of the Union. Oh, this is Joe. I'm telling you. He is
just sharp as a tack.
Sharp as a tack. Vigor. Kick my ass in a push-up contest. I tell you what, looked at me and just said, next time, young blood. It was almost like the Saturday night bit. It was almost like the Saturday night bit.
When you talk about Joe Scarborough, that's an example where it's really easy. I think like that often about what do they have on this guy? And to be honest with you, I think that is also almost wishful thinking, because I think at the crux of all of this, it is far worse, because I think these are the type of shallow human beings that live in such a restrained bubble. You talk about an echo chamber. That is, that there's a delusion that is going on within these people, their own community, and they don't. Again, remember, I always go back to them referring to most of this country as just being those flyover states.
Mm-hmm.
We're
and a basket of deplorables.
Yeah.
I would like to think that he's being blackmailed, but I just think this is the type of soulless human being you're dealing with. And that's what most of our
I think that's what it comes down to.
Republican congressman up in the panhandle.
I know.
But what the hell? Is Mika that good in bed? I don't think so.
Heard him, Connie.
I don't think so.
Come on, Fang with swallows.
Swallows well.
Have you seen the machinery these days? You don't need a Mika. Just, there's all kinds of interesting devices now.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
AI.
Sorry, I had to just go somewhere else.
Yeah, but to wrap it up quite nicely, to the media, to Joe Scarborough, to Don Lemon, we show picture number 9 of Elon, and this about sums it up of what we think of them. Elon, maybe there it is.
There it is.
Hey.
Go.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm sure he said that personally to Don Lemon as he finished the interview. That was great too.
My favorite Rain Man.
What a little.
My favorite Rain Man. Yep.
And also don't forget how you have the Supreme Court come out and say Texas is allowed to stop the illegals, and now an appeals court says, oh, no, you can't. And so picture number 15, Babylon B, court flips coin to see if Texas is allowed to enforce the laws today. really, you know?
Yeah. Banana Republic. That's where we are now.
Yes.
I think this would be an appropriate moment for me to just jump in here, and I'm the first. You guys are the first that I'm able to share this news with. Although I guess I did share it on Facebook, but personally,
Breaking news?
Breaking news. Yes.
I was recognized today as a top fan of Babylon Bee.
Oh, on Facebook? Oh,
Yeah.
Bravo,
Thank
sir.
We love
Bravo.
Babylon Bee.
It's it's a day that will live on in my memory.
Hard work and perseverance paid off.
Yes. Well, and I have to find their page, Not the Bee, is actually really great too, because they're real stories of things so ludicrous that they should be fake, but satire, but they are actually real. Like, let's see. The city of Chicago is suing Glock because, of course. Let's review what a Glock switch is and why this lawsuit is dumb. You also have woke doctors thought a tool that accounts for ethnic differences in kidney function was racist, so they removed it and screwed up the entire kidney transplant database. That's really nice to know.
So in other words,
oh, go ahead.
What the Babylon Bee has done is they've taken their parody headlines and they just wait for them to become true, and they move them over to not.
It usually only takes about
we'll probably
4
get
days.
to use this one twice on both.
Yeah. Well, and folks watching, James O'Keefe had a great video. I think he was being interviewed by somebody, where he said, "What is your price?" You know, because talking about the media in general and people like Joe Scarborough or whatever, what is your price? He said, is it $10 million? Is it $20 million? He said, then you can always be bought. If your price is death, then you cannot. Yeah, my life. I'm not willing to compromise my principles, my morals, my understanding of wanting freedom for our country.
Well, come on, 10 million.
But he's right.
You'd consider the 10 million. Just come on.
But who was it? Somebody just came out.
You wouldn't take it though.
Carrie Lake. No, Carrie Lake. Remember? They said what?
Oh yeah.
When she got that little putt's fired, you know.
Thank God again for I love clandestine tape recorders.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
well,
that
it's
was
weird
just
though,
brilliant.
because I mean, I don't know how you can't. You would think right now that in all over just about every federal agency, in the lunchroom, the break room, the bathrooms, they'd have a picture of James O'Keefe.
Yeah, what he looks like.
Don't talk to this guy.
He is not really gay. I ain't gay no more.
But it's beautiful. Yeah, I ain't no mo. No
more.
That is the best internet break ever. I love that video.
I love that, yeah. I
Hey,
like women.
I'm gonna hug me a woman.
Yeah.
I'll show you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hug her good.
Then take the bow tie off.
Hug her from behind.
Yeah, it's just awesome.
Oh man. Well, Dana, thank you so much for joining us again. Where can people find you and your podcast?
MrDanaStuff.com. And I'm on Podbean, I'm on iTunes, I'm on
people enjoy.
The music. So what I've done is that and it's what I've always wanted to do, even back in my Youngstown radio days, is I'm just featuring music that's coming to our area, basically taking Cleveland, Akron, Canton, Pittsburgh, up into Erie, PA, and a little bit of New York, and just highlighting different music. Of course, probably everywhere that anybody lives, people go around and always say all the time that there's nothing to do. Well, there's a lot to do. So it's my little contribution to the community, is to highlight some of the music and some of the shows and festivals and things that are going on. And it's stuff that I like. And it's the funny, people are always wondering what 60 and 70-year-olds were going to look like, you know, in the rock, the old rockers. Well, this is kind of us. It's a nice blend of everything from rockabilly to Americana to little country to just good old-fashioned rock and roll and blues. So I'm having fun with it and I enjoy it. And when I have absolutely zero expectations, it's always a good time, and I look forward to sitting down and doing it. And so
awesome. Well, good deals.
That's
like you said, it's
what it
available on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Is it on Spotify as well?
It's no, you can't do music podcasts on Spotify anymore. I have a couple of talk programs that I do as part of my network as well that are local. I do a coffee talkie program, and then I'm playing around with this Go-Go Bungalow radio show. We're actually sitting in I'm now living, we have a small apartment in front of a shotgun building, and I'm literally sitting in a 35 by 55 foot theater with complete stage, and we could seat probably close to 100 people in here comfortably. And that's something I'm working on this next year. More, though, with the podcast feature, where we're going to bring bands and bring live things in and actually be able to perform podcast and with a small
what do they call that on PBS?
Rainbow Bridge?
Cable access?
No, the
Austin City Limits?
Well,
That
something,
too, yeah.
something along that line.
Howard Stern's been doing that more too, where he has the band and then the interview.
Yeah,
No,
and bring in a
like
live audience.
Wobbegong days is what I was thinking about.
Oh yeah, well that's right in my wheelhouse.
Live audience,
Prairie Home, Prairie Home Companion.
Yeah.
Prairie Home Companion. Yeah, Garrison Keillor. Another sex offender. He got drummed out of NPR because he was playing grabby with Meryl Streep.
Yeah, Dan Schneider from Nickelodeon's dealing with more of that now too.
Man, there's a whole series.
Because I was back in the day, I was around Nickelodeon and that bunch, and let me tell you, from the get-go, that was back in my Disney days. Those Nickelodeon people were flipping weird. And that was Universal. That was a different park, but you all kind of, and get to know people in those kind of towns, and it was just weird. It was creepy from the get-go, and everything was designed to separate your children from the parents all the time.
Of course,
every activity.
Now they realize they can just do that in school.
Let's take your kids over here.
Jeez. Well, chickens
Hey,
come
Mike.
home to roost, and karma is a fickle bitch.
Yes.
What's that?
I'm completely blinded by this program, and I'm so happy that you invited me, and thank you for letting me be on here. I've never really done anything like this before on this side of it. Mike, you're doing a great job. What a great show. Nice little putback. You said it was going to be a surprise, and it is. Nice. I can't wait to see it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for the time. And folks, thank you for watching. Don't forget, you can subscribe to our channel as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and then take it over to Rumble, because YouTube sucks. And like us on Rumble, hit that subscribe button, hit that little red button right next to it that says join, and that'll take you over to our locals community, and you can join us there in just a little bit and check out some of the bottom of the stack that will have some stories for you. And also find this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, BitChute, Brighteon. I see you guys are watching on there. Thank you. We greatly appreciate it.
Really?
Brighteon, yeah. And don't forget, we will leave you with this. Picture number 1, please. If you're getting ready to fly, make sure you're prepared like this guy right here, taking no chances on that Boeing. So thank you, folks, for watching. Dana, thank you. Ken, always a pleasure. From the bunker, good night, everybody.
Freedom in its hour of maximum danger.
Mike, perhaps you recognize me. It's your favorite president.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution.
Hi,
to our
good night,
problem.
everybody.
Government is the problem.